Hey everybody, Questwise here, and today I want to talk about a game that I reviewed last year, but I want to bring it back up today and re-review it a little bit today because the supplement has just come out, has just arrived a while back, about a month or so ago, for the base game that was part of a Kickstarter that was finally fulfilled, and that game is Wild Skies by Wet Ink Games. That's Brandon Ayton and Matthew Orr are the creators of this game. Um, I'll link down below for the review I did of this last year. But I want to touch on it again because the supplement for it, Wild Skies Liberating Strife, has arrived in print, and it expands upon the game very much so that I want to sort of talk about the game as a whole and the two pieces together. What I think of it, what to expect from it, and where I hope to see it go in the future. So first off, Wild Skies Europa Tempest is the core book for this game, and right out of the gate, in the very first pages, um, the guys at Wet Ink Games are not ashamed to let you know what the game is. It's called The Buy-In. It's the very first chapter in this book. And the reason they did this is because this game is a little bit different from anything you've ever seen out there before. Maybe. I mean, it's a unique twist on things. You can maybe tell from the cover of this is a little bit different than your typical sort of straight up fantasy role playing game. First of all, it's anthropomorphic animals. Think think of After the Bomb by Palladium, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, that kind of a scope. Humans don't exist in this world, and they never have, and that these animals have always been the driving force behind um, uh, the history of the world, as it were. Second of all, this game is diesel punk, so it's a as if World War One had never ended, and the technology had continued to grow, in a sense that it was diesel powered flying airships and things like fighter jets and planes from that sort of era, sort of post World War One, World War Two kind of era. This book is super unique and it's super fun. I can tell Brandon Ayton has done some work for Palladium books before, and you can tell in the layout that that's sort of been a big influence to him. The layout itself reminds me a lot of a Palladium product, which is not a bad thing at all. Simply the layout and the way that the artwork and stuff is done, the sort of focus of the way the page contents and stuff are very familiar to that. You can see the influence from Palladium books in there a lot. Um, this Europa Tempest actually covers the European theater of operations. It's all of Europe, including like Russia and a bunch of other places. And where Liberating Strife comes in is that now they expand upon the world setting into America as well too. There are a number of different creatures that you can play, or animals that you can pick as your as a player character. There's a number of backgrounds, but what really makes this game unique is the moral compass. Is uh, the mechanic behind how this whole game is driven. There's a lot of games out there right now. We are in a golden age of role playing games, and a lot of times games fall into sort of a niche, or they sort of fall back upon other game systems, other rule mechanics to use as their driving force. And so it's very difficult sometimes to find a game that comes out that has something truly unique. But I think that what Wild Skies has done is just that. It is very truly unique in this moral compass idea. The moral compass is a way to encapsulate experience levels, like the growth of your character over time with experience, but it's also a way to track sort of your alignment of your character, the moral aspect of the driving force behind what your character is motivated by. And I find that so unique, and it's such a great narrative tool to use to play this game. And it drives the game forward in such a way that it just makes it truly unique and fun to play, and gives you some options that you don't find in a lot of other role-playing games. And I find that truly fascinating. I really, really love that aspect of the game. I'm also a huge fan of anthropomorphic mutant animals, right? I love After the Bomb. I love Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and Other Strangeness was one of the first games I was introduced to, and it set my path as a career for role-playing games. And so that kind of stuff always holds a very dear place in my heart. And these guys have nailed it. So there are tons of different animal aspects that you can draw from, each with their very own, very distinct and unique traits and abilities. A really, really cool game. The other thing I want to say about this game, too, is that the artwork is truly amazing. A number of artists have gone into making this come to fruition. And some of those people are Amy Ashbaugh, Aspen Ayton, Nick Bradshaw, Brian Manning, Mike Muma, Charles Walton, Mike Wilson, Eduardo Dominguez. You've probably heard a lot of these names before. If you watched any of my videos, you know I love Chuck Walton's art. I've interviewed Brandon Ayton. I've interviewed Amy Ashbaugh. And so a lot of these artists, if you've watched my channel, will be very, very familiar to you. And he's really packed a great crew together for this game. I mean, it's amazing the sort of amount of talent that's in this as well. And the other thing that really blows me away outside of the art, and I'm a very visual person, so artwork is very important to me in a game, and the way that it's laid out and stuff. The interior art is all black and white, but it is beautifully done. But the other thing that really attracts me to this game is the depth of research of history that's gone into this. So it is based upon our Earth history, right? We're talking about World War I has happened, and all the history of that behind that, those kind of things have happened, including the the Statue of Liberty, which is a bald eagle instead of a human woman. Excuse me. But the depth of amount of research that's gone into the history of this is fascinating. I studied history in college, and so a game with good sort of alternate history is very, very important to me. And you can tell that these guys have really sat down and really done their research. Something that can be very, very hard to do, something that can be very difficult to pull off, is a good alternate history. Because in order to do so, you really have to know the origins of it. You have to know the original history very, very well in order to tinker with it, to sort of change it to fit the theme that you're kind of going with. The guys at Wet Ink Games have nailed it. The history in this is beautiful and fun to read, whether it be Europa Tempest and you're talking about the European theater, or even the cool alternate history that goes into Liberating Strife, which talks about things like Edison and Tesla and all this great inventions that have happened and such, and the use of electricity in some of the technology and stuff as well too, is utterly phenomenal. I can't say enough about that aspect of the game. The depth of research that's gone into the history behind this is phenomenal, is great. If you're a history buff, you're going to love this game. If you're a anthropomorphic buff, you're going to love this game. If you're just looking for something unique with a great twist that's very different from everything out there on the market, you're going to love this game. Now, when I say very unique, I don't mean that it's going to be so hard that you have to sort of like start from scratch and relearn how to play the game, because it's a game that's very much based on a dice mechanic that you've seen in other places. It utilizes dice that you've seen in other games. It doesn't use anything sort of special. There's no proprietary dice or anything involved. You don't have to learn any new symbols or anything. But the moral compass does add a very unique twist to that aspect of thing. So if you've played role-playing games before, This is that you'll be able to see the sort of changes that have happened, but done so in such a unique way that it's made it very interesting. Liberating Strife is an amazing supplement. It's an amazing addition to the core game itself. I've talked to Brandon a few times, and it sounds like they do have a ton of other stuff in the works. That they have a ton of ideas of stuff that they can go from here, and they're going to stretch out across the world and do a bunch of other things as well too. And I'm excited to see that, because this game is very, very fun and it's very unique. And I love this sort of dynamic that you get from playing these different anthropomorphic animals, and putting them into a very historical setting, but with this sort of diesel punk twist to the whole thing. I'm a fan of that, of the kind of like crazy technology and stuff, and this is no different. I want to show you just a couple of these things in here. There's a lot of diagrams and things on weapons and technology and stuff in here, and I've always loved sort of like World War II dogfighting, combat ace kind of things, and these guys have nailed it. I'm going to put some pictures up around throughout the video of some of these planes and some of this technology and stuff, but God, this just really touches my nerdy little history heart of this game. But if you haven't checked out my previous review of Europa Tempest, go back. I'll try to link that down below. Go back and watch that one as well. And this is now available, from what I understand, on DriveThruRPG. This is available to the public. This is something that's out there ready to go. And Liberating Strife should be pretty soon, if it's not already, available to the public as a whole. I know that they wanted to make sure that they got all the stuff, all the Kickstarter people taken care of first. But Wild Skies by Wet Ink Games, Europa Tempest, and Liberating Strife. Go check it out. I highly recommend this game. Thanks, everybody. Until next time, I'm Questwise, and I'm out.